Welcome back, everybody, to your Circle of Influence podcast. I am your co-host, Dr. Monica Ogando.
And I'm Amy Walker.
We are delighted that you are here with us today. We are going to be talking about the main success principle that both Amy and I subscribe to, co-creating with God. Come on,
Yes.
Pastor Amy. What you got to say about
Uh,
that?
well, I mean, this could be the shortest podcast ever because we could just say it's the easiest way.
That's right.
Like,
Uh-huh. Thank you for
every
coming to my TED
time,
Talk.
every time I try to do it all on my own and figure it out all by myself, it's so much harder. I know this is something that's important to both of us that relationship with God is not exclusive to any one religion.
Right.
Right. So this is not a conversation that is theologically aligned, but I want to be able to talk really freely about what that relationship looks like,
Mm-hmm.
how each of us connect into that process of co-creation,
Mm-hmm.
because it multiplies and it magnifies your ability to get results in a short period of time,
Yeah.
because you can activate unseen help. You can activate like the abundance with which our universe was created. You can activate that and bring that into the way that you are creating growth. And it doesn't have to be a 1+1=2 relationship. It can be like,
Right.
I give 1 and I get back 15 or
Right.
2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you're sharing here because I think the whole conversation I've been fond of saying check yourself before you wreck yourself, and what I mean by that is audit your assumptions. This idea that when I do things by myself implies that the only thing you have is your own effort
Mm-hmm.
or your own observable behavior, and you are so much more than that. You have so much more than that. You have available resources and help in seen and unforeseen places, in physical manifestation and in the spiritual realm. And when we don't make that assumption, when we feel like all I can rely on is my own effort, then yes, it is a struggle. Because wouldn't
Yeah.
it be more helpful if you had more resources in places that you can't touch, that you can't reach, that you don't even know you've been invited to, let alone belong in? And so co-creating with God is a bit of a misnomer for me because it assumes for me that I have just as good an idea. The me that I'm talking about, me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that would mean then that I'm associating the me I am co-creating with my ego or with the small limited self. Whereas when I am creating with God, it's more like, or it's almost more like I'm creating as God. I'm creating as a vehicle of God. I'm creating as a vehicle of divine intelligence. So there's no me in there. There's a sense of agency, yes, but it isn't. There's no absconding of my responsibility. It's a partnership
Yeah.
in that way. I hope
And
I'm
I
making
will
sense.
say, yeah, I will say though that I do see this as a pendulum thing where you've
Yeah.
got people who by nature really tap into the law of abundance, manifestation, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't do their part, right? They do abscond their responsibility. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have other people on the flip side of that who they're like, I will work hard till the day I die, and
Right.
everything that I do will come from my two hands, and they're
I
they're
love the
super
accent
intense
that you
about
put
it.
in there.
The accent made it better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So then in reality, there's this place where it is very much a partnership with the divine. And things flow and they become easier and they can become enhanced. So let's kind of just share our processes and some of the things that we've learned
Yeah.
along the way.
Hmm.
And I always love hearing from you because I always learn new things. So you want to go first?
Sure. So the first thing is that I recognize the voice that speaks. I know when it's my ego speaking, and I know when it's divine inspiration speaking. Just like
That's good.
you would know if the person on the other line is Steven, your husband, versus one of your children, like you recognize their voices, right?
Actually, you know what? It's getting freakishly hard to tell because one of my sons has almost the exact same voice as his dad. Like they are
Well,
voice
yes,
twins.
I
And I
know.
hear them talking and I'm like, is that Steven?
Which one of
Who
you is
is
my
talking
husband?
downstairs?
Right.
It's getting like
Okay, so maybe
getting
not a good
bizarrely
example,
confusing.
but you get
Bad
what I like. I
example.
would know the difference if Steven called me versus if you called me, right? I recognize your voices. So it's the same
That is
deal.
true.
It's like I have to know who's speaking first before I know whether to spend any emotional or psychic energy into this stuff. Because if it's the ego speaking, it's like, go ahead and bark. That's fine. That's what she does. That's the first step for me. And then the second step is to get clear about what it is that is being asked of me. Like what is wanting to come forth, what is wanting to be expressed. It is no surprise to me. There was an earlier episode where you challenged me to be more consistent in my output of my thought leadership and be more visible, etc. That's no accident.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my words coming out of your mouth, right? It's like I had already had this conversation, and then it's like, and confirmation number one, and confirmation
Yeah.
number two, and confirmation number three, and so that's also part of it for me. It's like, uh, God means business. He's not letting me forget. He's gonna use Amy to remind me. He's gonna use my friend Angela to remind me. He's gonna use my
Mm-hmm.
coach. So that's the third piece. And then finally, I just have to be really honest with myself about what I am willing to do or be and what I'm unwilling to do or be. And I think this is where I have gotten tripped up in the past, is that I've wanted to make things pretty and ignore and be in denial of like, oh, I can't because blah, 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 or I shouldn't because blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with shouldn't and can't. It has to do with I don't want to, but I also don't want to hurt your feelings, or I also don't want to appear like a disobedient or unfaith, lack of faith, kind of like I don't want to take on those identities. So I'll take the identity of insufficient or not resourced or whatever the case may be. And I've had to get honest. It's like there's some things God has asked me to do, and I'm like, you sure it's me you want? Aren't there people better equipped, less lazy? you know no, it's you I want. Yes, it's you I want. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is your next
He's like,
iteration.
well, you could do it, or there's always the whale scenario. Like, I think about that sometimes when I'm like, why is everything so hard? And then it's like I trace back through what my inspiration has been. It's
Yes.
like, oh, well, this is my
Oh,
whale right here,
yeah. See,
Yeah.
this is what I get for being
This is my
disobedient
Jonah
or
moment.
unwilling to listen. And that's
Yeah.
that's where I got that phrase that you always laugh when I say it. And when I say hell is too hot for such a small infraction. Because let me tell you something else, Amy Maria de Los Angeles Ramirez Walker. When I have divine inspiration about something to do or say or be, I am fully resourced.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you saying no to exactly, Monica? This is a conversation that I've had with myself. That is like, because you think God's going to give you an assignment and not give you the means to do it?
Right.
Because you think God's going to give you a project and not ensure its success? Like what kind of God you talking about? Who are you talking about? Or
Mm-hmm.
two? I've had to take myself to the woodshed in that sense.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, so my first step is learning how to open up your spiritual receptor for receiving inspiration. Because not everybody knows how to do that. Some people intrinsically are like, I remember a lady who was like, yeah, I asked God what I should make for dinner tonight, and he told me what to make for dinner. I was like, God doesn't tell me what to make for dinner. I stare looking at my food and I'm like, I don't know what to make for dinner. So I think you've got to figure out how to open up that spiritual receptor. The first thing is to understand the things that block it. Anger blocks that spiritual receptor. Shame blocks that receptor. So a lot of the negative emotions, if you're full of those and you're like, but I'm praying and I'm asking and I'm not getting anything on the other end. So the first thing I look at is, well, how has that connection gotten dirty? What have I got going on inside me that is not aligned? Because God is not shamed. He is not angry. That like those are not the frequencies that he uses in order to talk to us. So I got to make sure I'm tuned into the right frequency. The other thing that blocks that is if you are living out of alignment with your personal values. Now you can take this into commandment context. if you want to. You can also just take it into, we all have a compass of what's right for us. And when we're out of alignment with that, we are then out of alignment with ourselves. And it is, we have our physical self and we have our spiritual self, and they have to be in alignment in order to really hear and receive inspiration. So it's not that God is unwilling. I don't think this is theory of Amy Walker. I don't think it's that God is unwilling to talk to us. I think it's that we just can't hear him. I think he'll talk to us in all times and in all places,
Right.
in all seasons, in all states, and
Yeah.
whether we're being good girls or bad girls, like, I think he's always willing to have that conversation, but I don't think we're always capable of hearing. So I pay attention to that. And then the last piece with that part of the puzzle is, how do you hear him? My husband and I, it's always interesting because we'll have a life decision that we're both praying about, and we get to the same answer most of the time. We always get there really different ways. So for me, I hear as I write down, and I do a lot of journaling. So I write down my prayers and I write down the answers to my prayers. And what was confusion moments before becomes super clear. I also get answers to prayers. This is my time that God and I talk really freaking early in the morning. This morning, he woke me up at 3:30 a.m. and I was like, can I hit the snooze button and still get all the goodness just at 5?
Yeah.
He was like, no, you want to talk? Like, now's the moment. Let's do it. But when I look at my life, every other time is loud. So of course he wants to talk when it's quiet. And that's not always how, like, my husband receives his answers. So you've got to know where and how you guys talk the best and create that context. I mean, for some people, I know it's like, you got to get out in nature, and it's on the hike is when you get all of the downloads. For some people, they dream their inspiration. My husband dreams his inspiration. And he also studies it too. He's also the kind of person that he'll do all of the study and all of the details. And during the course of the study, he feels right about one thing. So I think that's important, is to know how to open up that receptor. Then you have to do it consistently. It's not a one-time conversation. This is a continual conversation, and take time to listen. A lot of us spend time asking, and then we spend no time listening. We don't we talk about getting on your knees, but I'm wondering, how long do you stay there when you're not talking? Right? So what does that listen period of time look like? You have to actually spend time doing that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you do have to take action on the things that are inspired to you in order to move it forward. It's so often not as hard as you think it's going to be. It's small stuff, but that small stuff that's your part. This is where it gets hard for me. All that stuff is easy for me. This is where it gets hard for me, to not try to do God's part.
Right.
It's really hard for me. To not try to force my timeline. All of that patience part of it, that part, I'm not going to lie, that's where I'm like, is it your turn? It's your turn, right? Like, I pass the ball to you. Are you doing your part? That's the part that I struggle with. So learning to allow God to do his part and not stunt the miracles because we're trying to force the quick result. Sometimes miracles need to cook a minute, and sometimes they come in unexpected ways, and they don't come in our timeline.
Yeah. And I think that's a clue too. That it's like, if you've done everything that is yours to do and it still hasn't come to pass, work on the mindset piece, work on getting centered and keeping clear and all of those internal stuff, because the outer stuff has been done already. You crossed all that stuff off. Now do these internal pieces, go back to doing internal stuff so that you can get inspiration to know what's next, because you don't know what's moving in the invisible realm.
Right. And then and with the invisible realm as well is activating angelic support and help. And like, I truly believe, and I'm not requiring that everyone share this belief, but I truly believe that there are like hosts of angels that want me to win and are willing to do things for me. So just recently I was thinking about all of the places that I feel like God is calling me to go and looking at it saying, okay, I see what you're asking of me. I also know that that I can't do all of this actually. So show me what my part is. And
Yeah.
as we were doing that, I was like, okay, so I see what my part is. My part's actually very simple. Right now, my part is to really seek deep connection with God. And
Mm-hmm.
his part is that he has some really big things that he's going to make happen in my life and in my world. And in so doing, I'll be able to serve a lot of people. And I look forward to that. It's really exciting. But my
Yeah.
part, there's a lot of gaps between that. And so I was asking, like, okay, well, how can I activate the heavens? How can they work in my behalf? And some of the things that I asked for, and I ask, I don't just sit there and wait. I asked,
Mhm.
like, could you help me learn things while I'm sleeping? So that it cuts down on some of my learning time. So I've been like listening to audiobooks as I fall asleep. And when
Mm.
I wake up in the morning, I actually remember it. I'm not listening to them all night long, but as I'm falling asleep, I am remembering the things and retaining the things that I've been learning. Another thing that I asked for was, could you prepare the people who are meant to be my clients so that when they come to me, they recognize that I am their next right step quickly and easily, and they're ready to say yes and move
Yes.
forward. That they've already been prepared. And now it's
Yeah.
just like this awareness of like, oh yeah, you're the one.
Yeah.
So I have asked for the like I don't want to have to go searching or working hard for all of the answers that I need for my health and wellness. I just want them to come to me and I want to recognize them. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to let I've also asked for the accelerators, the people who can make it move faster, that they'll just be brought into my path. I don't have to go
Mm.
look for my accelerators, but my accelerators will be brought to me.
That's right.
So, do I know that I will get every single one of these? No. But do I believe that God is invested in me being happy and successful and serving a lot of people because he inspired those ideas? Yes.
Uh-huh.
I do
Yes.
believe that. I
Exactly.
don't know what it will all look like. I don't know how it will all come together, but I believe him and I trust him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have moments of distrust, because I do, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
human,
Mm-hmm.
to me that feels like me trying to force and trying to control.
Mm.
That's my awareness trigger that I know my faith is lacking.
Yeah.
And the fun, cool part is I don't actually have to fix that. I just have to find it and say, okay, I see that my faith is lacking. Help thou mine unbelief.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
That's
I
my
love that.
part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not to fix it. It's just to find it and bring it to him and say, "Oh, look, I found the Easter egg full of crap. Um, here it is."
Right.
Like, is
Right.
that my part? Do you need me to do anything else, or was it just
Yeah.
to find it and have faith that you've got this?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Oh, so good. I think part of it also I think I'm saying something that you already said differently, and that is to determine, design, define, request how you best receive those
Mm-hmm.
insights, those downloads, and so forth. My friends know, you know, everybody knows. Don't call her, text her. If you're going to call, hang up, do not leave a voicemail, and then text her.
Uh-huh.
That's the way that you can ensure you're gonna get a quick response from me, right? If you call and leave a message, I might get it next year. I don't know. I don't check that stuff. So in the same way, when I am in communication with God, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening, but I need this communication to land. So here's how it could best land, right? Send me this or send me that or give it to me this way or show it to me through a person and not just some symbology thing or whatever. Because listen, I'm impaired right now. I need it to be like real simple and obvious.
Yeah.
You get to say that when you're in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with someone, you get to say how you want to be communicated with, right?
Yeah.
And you get to listen for how they want to be communicated with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It just is, for me, this is the heart of connecting faith and purpose and productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would love if I just lived in a completely spiritual world and I didn't have to worry about managing the human side of
Oh,
things.
yeah.
The fact that my people need to eat, they need shelter, like it would
Right.
be awesome if all of that was provided. But
Yes.
we do not live in the Garden of Eden, right?
Right.
We live in the world where we do work, and that doesn't have to be a curse. It can be a great blessing. And for me, business is the place where God refines me. This is where he
Yeah.
teaches me so many things that help me be better, more compassionate, more wise.
Yeah.
It's training ground.
Mhm.
And my spiritual purpose and my business purpose need to be aligned. Monica, we had that conversation when we were first starting this podcast.
Mhm.
I remember saying, like, what's important to you? What's important to me? And I was like, it's really important to me that everything that I put out in the world is aligned with my spiritual compass.
Mhm.
And you were like, me too. So, like, it just is it's a beautiful place to be able to step into, where these are not compartmentalized segments of your life, but you're integrating in business principles and strategy
Yeah.
and structure and all of these things,
Mhm.
and spirituality. And it's not one or the other. They go together so beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. We would love to hear from you what you co-create, are co-creating, want to co-create with God, and how you go about that process of co-creation. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, leave us, you can also reach us on Instagram or other social media platforms. Amy is at Amy Walker Coach. I am at Monica Ogando. And let's keep the communication going. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, everyone.